Hello everyone. Myself, Dr. Vinay Chamoli, Associate Professor, Maharaja Agrasen University, Department of Tourism and Hospitality. The topic on which I'm going to speak about today is the outcome of coronavirus on the tourism and hospitality industry of India. Now, all of you know that how difficult the phase was of COVID-19 in the last 2 years. Specifically for tourism and hospitality industry, this phase was very damaging. The entire business of tourism and hospitality industry suffered massively while the COVID-19 was going through. The industry is slowly recovering and it is on the path of going back to where it started 2019. So in today's topic, I'm going to explain that how much effect the tourism and hospitality industry took while the COVID-19 was at its peak, the measures, how the industry tried to revive, and what are the outcome of this COVID-19 this industry have seen and have learned from it. So let's start the presentation for today. The image depicts the position of travel and tourism performance in the year 2019 in the various parts of the world. The figure under each region in dollars show the amount of total GDP contribution of tourism and hospitality industry in that region in that particular year. The percentage figure shows that the entire global economy GDP, and then each region, the figures which is highlighted on each region shows that how much growth of the tourism GDP took place in compared to the previous year. As you can see, I have divided the entire globe into different regions, going from the far western part, that is North America, then Caribbean, Europe, Latin America, Africa, Middle East, Northeast Asia, Southeast Asia, and Oceania. Now you can see that almost in entire globe around the world, the travel and tourism GDP percentage increased in compared to the previous year. The region where our country is, that is India, which we have shown in South Asia, the percentage increase was 4.5% than compared to 2018. The contribution of travel and tourism into the GDP was $234 billion, and the total percentage of contribution of travel and tourism was 6.6% in the GDP of that region, of our region, that is the South Asia. And henceforth, I've shown the percentage growth and the contribution in the GDP and the amount of monetary terms contribution of all the regions around the world through this image. So this image actually helps you to understand that travel and tourism sector has played a significant role in the economy around the world, not just in India, not just in Asia, but throughout the world. And in fact, in India, after gems and jewelry, tourism sector is the second highest foreign exchange earning sector for our country. Now, this is the global total travel and tourism jobs scenario from 2011 to 2020. As you can see, from 2011 till 2019, the graph is on the going towards the northern side. That means the number of jobs are increasing around the world. I've shown the figures in millions. So you can see starting from 269 million up to 329.6 million in 2019, the growth pace was gradual. But once the COVID-19 knocked our doors, you can see in 2020, there are three bars which I have shown. Now, the green one is if we estimate the damage towards the upper side, we expect that around 98.2 million jobs will be lost. If we take the baseline, we expect around 121.1 million job losses. And if the impact is analyzed at a very bigger aspect, in a very detailed way or in a very massive way, it goes up to 197.5 million job losses by the year 2020, which is huge in numbers. So we can say that this sensitive industry, which we call as tourism industry, has taken a big jolt by this COVID-19, and that is visible in this presentation of mine on this particular slide. As you can see, the number of jobs have gone down globally in travel and tourism sector. Now, if we talk on the terms of the total travel and tourism GDP scenario, the total travel and tourism GDP was $8,876 billion in 2019. And if we expect the losses, the damages that has taken place because of COVID-19, the downside would be around $5,543 billion. It is going to go down. If we take the baseline, the damages would be around $3,435 billion. And if we take the upside, or we can say a kind of a positive scenario, the losses are estimated to be $2,686 billion. Now, let's talk about the challenges in front of the travel, tourism, and hospitality industry. As you all know that the COVID-19 led to global imposition of bans as far as the travel is concerned. So more than 100 countries, they had travel restrictions. There was no movement between the countries. Complete ban on tourist visas. Only a very, very essential travel was allowed. Then later on, there was bio bubble. Only few flights were moving from one country to another, that too in a very, very restrictive manner. So the entire world was completely shut down in the last 2 years. The global revenue for the travel and tourism industry, which was estimated, around $447.4 billion in 2020, it got decreased by around 34.7% from the previous year. So what we estimated that the revenue are going to increase compared to 2019 in 2020, it got a hit, and we witnessed a reduction of 34.7% in the revenue part in compared to 2019. The revenue for the travel and tourism industry in India will be badly affected by the pandemic, and it is expected to be 5 trillion rupee less in 2020 than previous year. That means the amount of money which was earned, the revenue which was generated by the tourism sector in 2020 was 5 trillion rupees less than what the industry earned in 2019. Then finally, the tourism sector in India is staring at a potential job loss of around 38 million, which is around 70% of the total workforce. That means there were a number of job losses starting from the top to the middle and to the bottom segment of employees. Restaurants were shut down, hotels were completely off business. The management tried to sustain their employees. They helped them to financially remain stable to an extent for a while, but the pandemic took its toll. It kept stretching on and covered almost 2 years. So the number of employees was sent back to their home. They were sent on long leaves, or some of them, they also lost their job because of this pandemic. And it was around 70% of the total workforce which were told to stay back at home because of this complete blanket ban on the events, weddings, festivities, and movement of tourists from one place to another. As a result of the pandemic, the global hotel market has already taken a huge hit. The country that saw the largest drop in occupancy was Italy. And if you remember, it all began from Italy when the cases started, exploding in Europe. It was Italy, the first country which witnessed a lot of damages at that time. 96% drop in business in the hotel industry of Italy compared to 2019, which is something phenomenal. In India, it is expected to be 65% decline. That means the hotel industry was, in compared to 2019, 65% less rooms were occupied than compared to 2019. Approximately 314 billion US dollar loss in aviation sector worldwide. Again, because of no movement, the cost which was creeping in, but the revenue model was completely failed. So there was around 314 US billion dollar loss for the airline industry, which is again a very integral part of the tourism sector. Around 28% tour operators around the globe are on the verge of closing because of no business. There were no bookings, there were no movement, there was no packages, tours happening. So the travel agency and the tour operators around the globe, they took around, most of them, they suffered a lot. And out of them, 28%, they were forced to shut down. And finally, the psychological problems with travelers will persist, which means that even when the industry got opened, everything came back to its normal, there was still psychological impact which was there among the travelers. Whether the seat on which I'm going to sit in the aircraft is clean enough, the bed on which I'm going to sleep in the hotel is hygienically maintained, the food which I'm going to eat is prepared by somebody who is healthy, who is free from any virus or any infection. Now, you can't answer these questions. You can't figure these things out by yourself. You have to trust. You have to trust the aircraft, the airline company on which you're flying, the hotel you're staying, the restaurant in which you're eating out. But because of this COVID-19, the psychological impact was such that people started, they have that kind of a doubt in their mind. It was becoming a little difficult for them to trust. So this factor will remain in the psychology of the travelers for a certain while, and it will take some time for this to completely wipe out. Now, how the industry is going to handle this, how we are going to come out of this, and what is the new normal, how the industry is bringing changes so that they can stand, they can deliver, they can survive, and they can succeed from this situation. The first thing is operational and staff preparedness. There has to be a major overhauling in the working pattern of the industry, especially the hotel industry and the tourism industry. People were earlier also giving a lot of attention to hygiene, cleanliness, and health. But this phenomena has become very, very vital and very, very important after COVID-19 pandemic. There were new training programs which were inculcated among the staff to make sure that they offer a nice, clean, hygienic stay to their guests. The food handlers, the food preparers, the people who prepare the food, the people who serve the food, those who are into the handling thing, they have been given a detailed training. You'll see in hotels and at airports, the sanitizers are placed at strategic locations. Face masks, face shields, gloves are, being provided to each and every employee who is working in the, guest handling business, guest service business. So there are a lot of things that has taken place. The operational areas and the staff who are involved in those guest handling are being given special training. The new SOPs have been formed, how the guest handling will take place, how the food handling will take place, how the guest belongings will be tackled. So each and every person who comes in contact with the guest is being given a detailed training so that the health part must not be compromised when it comes to the guest. Next thing is ensuring a safe experience. You need to provide a safe experience to your customers, to your guests. And to make sure this thing, the company policies have changed. Companies have now invested more and more in setting new global standards. Delta, let me give you an example. Delta Airlines, which is one of the leading airlines in US, is now promoting their cleanliness in their advertisements. safety first, they say. So rather than the hotels or the airline companies giving more priority to comfort, luxury, variety, or you can say the cost part, they are now focusing on their branding and marketing plans on the health, safety, and hygiene part. Each and every traveler and guest would like to believe that the aircraft he's traveling in, the hotel he's going to stay in, the restaurant he's going to eat in, the bed on which he's going to sleep in, is immaculately clean and is not going to compromise any which way in the health aspect of his own. So, keeping this thing in the priority, the entire sector, entire travel and tourism and hospitality sector have brought numerous changes in the policies, in the working pattern to ensure that a safe experience is being provided and offered to the travelers. Rebuilding trust and confidence. This is something which is very, very vital. People who were regular flyers, people who were regular visitors in the hotels, they stopped moving from one place to another. We were all literally, being caged inside our home for a very long period of time. But that doesn't mean that the world will remain like this forever. This new normal will end soon and will go back to the old normal. But how will this happen? How should a brand, a company, a hotel, or an airline remain in the mind, in the memories of its customer? See, there are different ways. The companies experimented with different things. Now, for example, Airbnb, one of the leading accommodation app through which you can book your accommodation worldwide, what they did is they started online free yoga session, cocktail workshop, they started online health programs also, and again all free of cost to their regular guest, just to ensure that they don't fade away. That was their strategy. Also, on the same lines, there are many companies. For example, if I give you an example of Marriott Group of Hotels, what they did is for their loyal customers, for their regular captive customers who keep giving them businesses, what they did is they started organizing cocktail workshop, cookery programs online while they were at their home, just to remain, stay in touch with them. So these are certain things which happened. Then there was another change, in a city like Chandigarh. If I give you an example, hotels like Hyatt and Taj, what they started, because the dine-in facility was completely closed. So what they did is they started sending the chef and the F&B service team, food and beverage service team, to the houses, to the bungalows of the guests, where they started hosting private parties for them, giving them the same experience which they used to have in hotels at their doorstep. So these are some of the measures by which the companies which are in tourism and travel industry, they remained alive, they remained in touch, and they survived this pandemic while never fading from the memories of their clients. Then implementing and enabling policies, something which is completely, revolutionized the entire industry. Those things took place. Let me give you an example. Singapore Airlines, what they did was they started Flight to Nowhere program. You won't believe, but it is true. Flight to Nowhere. That means people were so much fed up sitting at their home. Imagine a business traveler who used to fly every week out of his country for business, discussions or meetings or, signing agreements and all, was at his home from the last so many months. So what Singapore Airlines did was they started Flight to Nowhere. You come at the airport, you'll be given a seat at the aircraft. The aircraft will take off. You'll be served meals, but it won't reach anywhere. It will come down back to the same place where it started. because this was just an experience of flying. People were so much psychologically terrified because of being at home. This something new has happened. They completely, revolutionized this thing, and they started something like this. And you won't believe the flight tickets, the moment it was opened, the flight tickets are completely sold within few hours. Then, if we talk about our own country, how the policies have changed, a very leading brand of hotel in India, Lemon Tree. What they did was, Lemon Tree Pune started this initiative to offer the rooms of the hotel on monthly basis because there were no guests. Pune is a metropolitan city. There are a lot of business, executives and young, young employees in the corporate sector who live in Pune. Because of the lockdown, the meals, the markets were shut down. In PGs, foods were not available. So what they did was they converted their hotel into a modern PG. So they said all the young executives, they can stay with them in their hotel. They'll be provided meals, beddings, everything on monthly charges basis. This is a completely new strategy because hotels were not making any revenue. The revenue model was not working the way it was happening till 2019. So they brought this change. This is another step which took place during the lockdown. Then you all know that there are many hotels which were especially close to the airport. They got converted into COVID hotels. All the travelers who used to come from abroad, they used to stay in these hotels, and this is one way of making revenue, making profit, because people who can afford, they used to stay in these hotels. They quarantine themselves in these hotels for a certain number of days, and these hotels were providing them all the cleaning, meals and stay facilities while they were during the quarantine. They were there away from their home in the same city but at this particular hotel. So these are the strategies, because until and unless you don't experiment, change is the only permanent thing in life. We never invited COVID-19, but once it was at our doors, inside our houses, we need to bring certain changes to survive, succeed, and stay positive during the entire time period. So this way, the entire COVID-19 was handled in such a way that the world over global travel and tourism industry, they stood strong and they faced it. Now we are on the verge of entering back to the phase where we left it in 2019. Almost the entire scenario is changing now, and the industry is coming back to its track. But this all was possible because of the amount of strength, amount of acumen and vision shown by the industry, which handled this COVID pandemic in a certain manner. But at the same time, there are a lot of positive changes that took place in the hotel industry, which helped the industry to regroup, recollect itself, and started excelling towards the next level of success. So this is all from my side today. Thank you once again for listening patiently. That's all.